We just finished with Concept 8, employees, and so at all these seminars I usually take more time for questions and stuff like that, but since we have the tape, we shouldn't have to reiterate. Most everything is covered, and what Ed mentioned earlier, I see that I'm going to be covering that a bit later here. The next thing was how to spend credits with non-members. This is kind of a neat thing because a lot of people think, well, you know, show me the list. I'm thinking, they don't get it. They don't have to be a member for you to spend credits. How do you think that works?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I did mention that to you a little earlier, so that shows you how easy it is to miss something important like this, you know. But let's say that a person is a non-member. Let's say Ed is an example. I would like to go over and rent his bowling alley, or, you know, over here with Rib, I would like to get some travel with Rib or whatever. Because I'm a member of ICRE, anything that ICRE has, like I mentioned earlier about the limo. So I know I got limo, and I know the limo's trading at 100%, so I put that up in my little head here. Then we have like over 50 restaurants that we trade with, and I know a lot of them trade at 100%. So I could go to Rib and I say, Rib, you know, I need this done. Can you help me? And like if I owned a bowling alley, he might say, well, you know, I don't really need bowling. I don't need a party. And but see, because I'm a part of the trade exchange, I can say, well, do you need a new pair of glasses? I remember I had a guy come to my house to work on my dishwasher. He was not a member. And I thought, well, you know, what do you need? He says, I don't need anything. I says, well, you know, I got glasses. And he says, wait, my wife was going to buy some glasses. I said, why don't you go over and buy the glasses? I'll pay for them, and you can fix my washer, you know. So that's just one example. But I could just say to Rib, you know, here's a list of restaurants that we have. You know, if you'll do this for me, I'll give you credit at that restaurant. Now comes the question, what is more valuable than cash when it comes to currency? How many people know the answer to that besides Ed? What is more valuable than cash? Nobody knows. What cash will buy? Think like a chess player. What does this person need? Like I'm sitting there talking to Debbie, you know, and I see what she does. I could just say, well, like with Rib, you know, I'm seeing what he does. I think, oh, travel. Okay, well, maybe he would want some luggage or maybe some hotel rooms in different parts of the country. So you could relate it to everybody and say what they have. But, man, look at it. There's like 1,200 listings. Don't you think I could find something that you want? How about carpet cleaning? How about a car? How about a hot tub? So what happens is you trade with non-members by just simply, if they don't want to join the exchange, just get them what they want, pay for it with credit. So if I was going to pay $2,000 for something like a roof on my house or something like that, small house, you know. So I could just say, hey, listen, would you like to have a hot tub? And the guy says, well, yeah, of course he'd want a hot tub, right? Okay, so I buy the hot tub for $2,000, but I'm only paying 1,000 cash, 1,000 credits. I just cut my cost in half, and I'm not even doing it. So that's what this is all about, is realize that you're no longer just in the video business. You're no longer just in the bowling alley business. You're whatever they want. What do you want, you know? You don't have to barter. That's what makes trading so great. The next thing is written out. It's a paradigm shift, and probably one of the more important things. This concept is going to enable you guys to be able to make a change. And people always act like they're real smart. They're like, oh, yeah, I really know what this guy's talking about now, you know. But let me just give you an example. I don't believe that anybody in here, Ed might be an exception, maybe Rib a little bit, but for the most part, you're not aggressively seeking change. And if you can understand why you're not doing that, and we have to look at ongoing businesses that are doing well. Those are the main key people that we're talking about, okay? But you're not aggressively seeking business. And you really couldn't, even if you wanted to. If you said, okay, I'm going to aggressively seek business, I'm going to seek change. And paradigm shift is about change, you know, not to do things the same way. So if I said to you, if I just came to you and said, change your hairdresser, that doesn't set well with you, do? Just change your hairdresser, you don't, why, you know? But if I said to you, change your dentist, change your accountant, do you see how your first impression is not, do you understand why your first impression is not to want change? Well, I believe, this is my opinion, that it has something to do with your subconscious desire to change. So if you stop and think about it, your subconscious mind figured it all out, so he said, don't waste your time, don't change. Because only three things can happen, and they're all bad. And you're thinking, well, I never thought about it. Well, if you think about it, it doesn't matter whether you change your haircut, dentist. If you just make a change, it's all bad. And you really won't change because you don't have the power to change your paradigm until I finish telling you this, and then you'll work on it, okay? What happens? You change your dentist. Three things could happen. You could get a worse one. Is that good? Need I say more? If you change and get a worse one, is that a good reason to change? Would you change if it was the same? Why would you change for the same? Would you change for the same?
It was cheaper.
Well, it wouldn't be the same, sweetheart.
No, then comfort level.
No, the same is the same. The same price. Does it make sense? Is it logical to change for the same? Are you seeking change for the same? No. So you can't change for the same. You're not going to change for the worse. You're not seeking change for the worse. So what's the only thing left?
Better.
Are you seeking change for the better?
Yeah.
You're not seeking change for the better.
I'm not seeking it.
You cannot change because you're not seeking change.
That's the only reason you would change.
Yeah, I have to tell you. Now, why would you not be seeking change for the better? Why do you think? Well, I'll tell you. Because how do you get better for less? Are you looking to increase your car payment? You could get a better car. How come you're not trying to get a better car? I don't know what you're driving, but I can get you a better car. Every one of you. I can get you a better house. What's wrong with getting a better house, better car, better clothes? You know, have you ever gotten better for less? So why would you see? Do you guys have extra money on you right now? You have nothing to do with? You got discretionary income on you? Okay, so you know you're not out there seeking change. And so really, if I don't teach you how to do this, and we have to teach our clients how to do this, and this is the biggest problem, they're not seeking change. They don't have the power to change, and here's how it happens. What I tell you is that if you go start seeking change, then we'll change for the same. You know why? Because it'll be the same price, same quality, same service, and there's a lot of same out there, isn't there? But we'll get someone to do it for part cash, part credit. In other words, there's other people that do videotaping, as an example, and I could call 10 of them, and I could get 10 different prices, and he might be the highest or the lowest or somewhere in between, but there's a lot of them that would probably charge the same, right? But if I can get them to do some of that in credits, can you see how I'm benefiting for changing for the same? So I'm looking for change. And I couldn't do any better than Rib, I realize that. But so what I'm saying to you is that I need you to understand that you need to seek change for the same. So seek change for someone to cut your hair. Seek change for someone, get yourself another OBGYN. Get yourself another dentist. Because if you don't, you can't spend credits with people if you're not going to change. But see, it's logical if you could say, okay, listen, I'm going to go get my hair cut over here for $50, but I found out that it was the same. The haircut was no better, no worse, but it's the same, but they want 50 credits. So now I can buy 50 credits for $25, so changing for the same is logical. Before it wasn't logical. So you've got to convince yourself, so you should go make a list of things you're spending cash on and say, okay, I'm going to start looking for alternatives. So it's okay to change for the same now. You have the power now because you have the logical power to seek change for the same. So you look down and see where all your cash is going, and you write down on the list there, and you say, okay, I'm a dentist. Go to your dentist and see if they want to join the exchange. If they don't, find one that will. Okay? Now, what about better? Normally, better is more expensive, but actually, when you spend credits, it's actually less expensive. Let's say you go to his dentist, and they want $1,000, and I find someone that would do it for $1,000, same cash, but they'll do it for 30% cash. I'm saving $700 for the same. Well, what happens if this person I go to is a better dentist, and they're charging more? Instead of $1,000, they want $1,300. But by the time I spend the $1,300, I'm only paying $500 cash and $800 credits. By the time I pay my commission and everything else, I'm saving like $400, and I got a better dentist. I got a better CPA. I got a better attorney. Okay? So you need to seek, because see, your fear, you're saying, I don't want to seek change because what happens if I find someone better? Then I won't be able to afford it. Not anymore. Because you're only going to change them if they're smart enough to understand this program. Why would you want a CPA or an accountant that didn't understand the program? You know, this is not a tough program. You'll figure it out. I'm sure that some person smarter than you could figure it out, right? So you guys realize that the reason why you'll sign up people and they will not change is because they're not seeking change. And you know why? Because you're not going to go home from here and sit down and make a list of dentists and start calling dentists. That's where you're seeking change. You've got to, and so these business owners with Ed, I mean, he started, it just sunk in somehow. He was saying, okay, well, you know, my carpet cleaner, you know, you either sign up on this trade exchange or I'm going to get someone on the trade exchange that does it, you know. Because, see, people are either a part of your problem or they're part of your solution. People that come and take your cash when it's in precious supply and you don't have a lot of it, they're a part of your problem. So you have vendors that are taking money away from you, and you know why they're doing it? Because they don't need what you have. So you give them that opportunity. It's okay now, I'll give you some credits and you can buy what you want, but it saves me money. If they don't want to do that, who needs these guys? Right? Because the more credits you spend, the more business we can send you. You can actually make yourself. You want to be a millionaire? Spend 1 million credits. You want to be a 100,000-aire? Spend 100,000 credits. If you can sit out how to spend 100,000 credits, I can get you 100,000 credits. I can save you 50,000 bucks. And then I'll say, hey, listen, give me 50, I'll collateralize the $100,000 loan and give you a year or two to pay it back at no interest. And then if you do, I'll just give you your 50,000 back. Okay? No problem. I tell you, this paradigm shift, so I'm going to read it to you guys. I have not typed it out, but I did write it, and I must have wrote it a while back, but I'm going to read it and see if it makes sense to you. Paradigm shift. A person has to have a reason to change the way they do things. I think most people are resistant to change because their subconscious mind has made the decision for them. It realizes there's only 3 things that can happen when a change is made, and all of them are negative results. Therefore, it is best not to change. Number 1, you can get a worse vendor. Number 2, it's not logical to change for the same. Number 3, when you change for the better, it usually costs more. Most people prefer not to spend more money on something they're now satisfied with, and not only that, they'd have to pass on the upcharge to their clients that don't want to pay what they got and paying them now. Can you imagine the Chinese guy, you're going to get him to pay more for his food when he can't hardly get him to pay what he wants for it now? A paradigm shift takes place and a person realizes that changing for the same is logical. When credit dollars are used, because they can be obtained for as little as 9 cents on the dollar. Here you guys thought you could buy them for 50 cents on the dollar, and here I'm telling you how to buy them for 9 cents on the dollar. But if you read closer through the lines there, you'll see how you could buy them for 0 cents on the dollar. That's a paradigm shift. So now you have the power. Seek change. Help your clients seek change. That's paradigm shift for you. Okay. The next thing I'm going to cover on this thing is question session. You know, I let everybody answer a question every once in a while. So I'm going to have a question. Who's got a question? Ed?
Al, how do I know when I engage in trading or bartering that I won't get ripped off?
Okay, Ed, again, it's really something that all the questions today happen to be the questions that the average or most people would ask. You know what I'm saying? So what I've done here is I've actually written another article that's a follow-up to the first article, and it's called Surviving in Today's Economy Using Trade and Barter Part 2. Now, the answer to that particular question, Ed, happens to be on that. And so, in fact, let me just tell you this. You guys can look it up later. It's in your little folders there. Like one of the questions, is it legal to barter? We talked about that. Is trading to a trade exchange legal? You know, we talked about that. Effective use of trading and bartering can give you an additional 20% of your gross net. It talks about, you know, increasing productivity. We talked about that. And then down here, how do I barter or trade for gasoline, Trader Al? Okay. And so this you can read about this when you have some time. It's just a little bit. But anyway, one of the things on here is how do I know that when I engage in trading or bartering, I won't get ripped off? That was a question there. So I'm just going to read this because I think most of you realize that if you just, it says here, all you can do is be careful and use the same discretion you would use if you were involved in a cash transaction. Check references of people you don't know. Also, look at the quality of previous work. One of the many benefits of being a member of a trade exchange is in many cases the exchange has had some experiences with most of the members. You can also check prices outside the exchange before you call the exchange. We talked about this a little earlier too. I can usually lay my cards on the table when dealing with one of the fellow members. Remember what I said? I know what it's going to cost me. An example, someone ran into my car. I got an estimate for $350. I went down the street, it was $550. I went down the street, it was $750. So I thought, well, the $350 sounded pretty good. So when I talked to the members, I said, I got a bid already for $350. Can you do it for that? I ended up getting it done for 400 credits, which was a good deal, you know. But if I said, give me an estimate, it might have been $700 or $800, you know. You don't have to tell them people are a member. I tell people, you don't have to tell people you're a member of an exchange. Just get an estimate. You don't walk into a store and say, how can I buy something here with a credit card? You know, you got to find out, do they have what you want to buy first? Well, find out whether this person has what you want and can sell it to you at a fair price. Then you can say, here's how I'm going to pay for it with ICRE. That's how ICRE works. Other trade exchanges, they might even tell you, you got to tell them you're a member before you ask them for the price. And you know what that, you know. The reason I don't like that is because most people are pretty expensive. You're not used to buying things. And you go buy a roof and it's really off the roof. So you're thinking, oh, it's a trade exchange. People are overcharging because it's trading, you know. When really it's not. It's just the cost of high things. Things are costly nowadays. So anyway, it says here, I lay my cards on who. They will generally match or beat a competitive price and accept my credit dollars as part or full payment, okay? So that's really how simple it is. You don't have to tell them, and then you can do your shopping, lay your cards on your table, and everybody wins. Okay, does that answer your question, Ed?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, well, that's a good question. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is talk about something Ed mentioned earlier, concept 2, 3, 4, and 6. Now, the reason these things are moved around, remember how I originally said that we talked about how to get more credits, then we talked about how to get and spend more credits, and we're talking about how to spend credits. Well, those concepts are part of how to spend credits. Out of the 8 concepts, 5 of them have to do with the actual spending of credits. 3 is with the acquisition of credits, and that's why they're shifted all around in order of importance. So, and that's why all of a sudden we're talking about concept 2 after we've already talked about 3 or 4 of the other concepts because they were related. This is related to spending, just spending, not getting and spending. So anyway, we're going to wrap concept 2 and concept 3 and concept 4 all together by simply telling you that you take the same approach to spending credits on business or personal or investment expenses as you do with 1. It's the same approach, okay? And that is, take your business expenses, and we talked about paradigm shifts, and start looking for alternate places that you can spend it with. And you'll see that when you read these concepts, it'll say, well, you could go to an existing vendor, but it's kind of hard to convince an existing vendor, hey, listen, join the trade exchange, and you know that $2,000 a month I'm giving you? I'm only going to give you $1,000 cash out straight. How does that sound? You know, they won't like that, okay? If you get educated a little bit, and you could just approach them this way. Hey, Walt, I'm going to have to leave you. You're doing a great job, but we're going to be using people on the trade exchange because they're going to do part cash, part trade. It's nothing you did, but you're not a member. And what are you going to say? How can I become a member? But you have to really take it away. Does that make sense? And if they're smart enough, it says right in there, if you read these concepts in detail, it'll explain it to you. So I recommend that all of you read the material and then call Trader Al and say, hey, I didn't understand this. And I'll keep telling you, and you go with it until you figure this out. But you'll figure it out. Just make the paradigm shift and start looking for business, personal, or investment-related expenses and give yourself alternatives. And anything that has competition can be traded with. So if you go to the electric company and say, hey, would you trade with me? Probably not, because they're the only ones that are trading, you know. Whereas if you went to, just think about it, carpet company, how many are there out there? If you were a carpet company and I came to you and said, I'm getting ready to spend $5,000, would you do it for 2 cash and 3 credits, or would you rather me take my business to your competitor? What are you going to say? Talk to me, baby, you know. So you have the power. You have the power because you're writing the check, right? That covers all those babies. Now listen to this. Oh, man, this is one of my favorite concepts. Concept 6. You don't have to worry. I don't have materials on that because it's in the list. Okay, yeah, well, you got it there. It says how to purchase advertising with credit dollars. That sounds like a business expense. Maybe it's a redundant concept because it's so powerful. Now listen to this, because you'll never hear anybody else say this. I have figured out a way to make advertising work all the time. Sounds impossible, don't it? You're thinking, well, how could that be? But if I owned a business, every time I would buy advertising, it would work all the time. Wouldn't that give me an edge over everybody else? There's only one reason. I'll tell you what it is. You pay more than you get back. If you can figure out how to pay less than you get back. Now, example, if I sold you an ad for $100 and your cost of goods sold was $100, you'd have to get $200 worth of business, right? Just to break even. So if that ad would get him $200 and he could get his money back, then that ad worked, didn't it? So if you could advertise without having to put cash out, you could make it work all the time. So how are you going to do that? You're going to have to turn your lack of productivity into a net credit. And you know why it's concept 6? Why isn't it concept 1? Because this will not work if you use credits if you could take and spend the credits on a business expense and use them all up buying advertisement and you didn't have any to pay for your business expenses, then you'd be paying cash, right? If you spent your credits, then all of a sudden advertising, you had a cash expense that you didn't have credits for. So what you do, the key here, is spend your surplus credits. And this is going to be very exciting news because you're going to actually be helping people that you get involved in the exchange, actually giving them this information so they can become successful. How many people have actually owned a business besides Ed? I know Ed is on the business. Okay. So think back, and if you'd had this information and you knew you could just go get advertising and trade for it, how much more successful you'd be. Now, if you stop and think about all the different concepts that we've talked about, like bartering to close a sale, okay, and now we're talking about advertising. And why is it number 6? Because these have to be surplus credits in order to make this work. I said I could make advertising work all the time. Well, you don't want to give up credits and buy stuff and then you run out of credits and you don't have credits to cash convert. See, you've got to spend them on your business expenses, spend them on personal expenses, invest them, convert them into cash. You know, cash conversion, that's concept 5. Then you're at 6. Why? Because you have surplus credits. Now, what's difficult for a lot of you to understand is you're thinking, well, man, he's talking about a lot of credits. How do I get a lot of credits? Well, that's concept 7, which we discussed a little earlier, is that everybody, and if you think back when your business, whenever you were selling and you come up with a price objection, if you were bartering, and you were able to convert, if you were all of a sudden take the average salesperson, remember how I said the difference between you and me, or you and the best salesman, I know I'm going to make the sale? Well, using concept 7, you're going to make a lot more sales, and you're going to have a lot more credits, and it won't take long before you're going to have a lot of surplus credits. Okay, so that's why we teach you how to convert them into cash. But you can't like go to a bank and say, "Give me cash for them." So you have to know people who need things and get referrals and stuff like that. So it's a possibility that you might earn 100,000 credits, but only be able to spend 60 of them or 70 of them. So why don't we take and spend the other 30 on advertising? If we spent $30,000 on advertising, what would our cost be? Nothing. We have no fixed costs, we have no variable costs, and you can trade for the transaction fee now, right? So, what did you pay for the advertising?
Nothing.
Nothing. Somebody's listening. You really paid nothing. You just paid your lack of productivity, which is a perishable commodity. That's what you paid. And you're not getting anything for that right now. You can't save it. You can't say, well, I'll make it up next week. Gone forever. So, that's how you make advertising work all the time, is that, let's say in the course of learning the program that you build up 30,000 credits, but you spend 10,000 on your business, 10,000 personally, cash convert 5,000, and you have 10,000 left over, you better get rid of them, or the IRS is going to charge you income tax on it. So why not get rid of it by advertising? Now, where are these advertisers going to come from? You're aggressively seeking change, so you let the advertiser come to you. They will come to you. And so give them the presentation. And the best time to buy advertising is when you don't have the money. Imagine how many times have people called you up and said, I'm going to talk to you about some advertising. You're thinking, I don't have any money. Why would I have the guy come over? Right? Well, you have him come over because then you say, okay, here's what I'll do. Do you think this ad will work? Yes, I think it will work. Can you guarantee it? No, I can't guarantee it. Who has ever told you they're going to guarantee it? I'm the only one you've ever met who can say that. And you're still not sure how I'm saying that yet. But what they will tell you is when you'll know, and they'll also tell you what it's going to cost. So they say, okay, Walt, this is going to cost you $1,000 every 3 months, and I recommend that you do it 4 times a year, or at least 3 times a year. So that's $3,000. And after about a year or so, then if it doesn't work, you'll know. That, in essence, if you would just ask the salesman, he'd tell you, I don't know what's going to work. Are you going to give me my money back if it doesn't work? No. You see? So what I do is I say, I'll tell you what, I really want to try this. I like what you're talking about, but here's what I'm going to do. Because, see, we know that the advertiser, and unlike so many other things that we could buy, hasn't got much in the way of fixed or variable costs for the most part, does he? If you stop and think about it. Radio advertising, TV advertising, direct mail, all kinds, ad space, whatever. So what I just say is, listen, here's what I'll do. I will try your program for a year. I'll give you these 3,000 credits I got here. Now, what if his ads do not work and you don't even get one piece of business off of it? What did it cost you? Nothing. Because you'd have to get rid of those credits to keep them paying taxes. You couldn't spend them on anything else. They were surplus. And when you learn Concept 7, you're going to have tons of surplus credits if you understand how Concept 7 works. And that is bartering instead of missing a sale. Cutting the throats of your competition. Your competition would not be able to get business from you. I mean, you'd almost feel sorry for them. You know, they can't beat you. And so that's how you make advertising work all the time. Well, does this begin to make sense to you a little bit? Isn't that neat? Concept 6. So what do you think about that? Isn't that something? Advertising? Make advertising work. So you all of a sudden, you become a great salesperson. You know, become very productive, you lower your cash cost, you increase your productivity, and now you can advertise. And what does advertising get you? Prospects. The more prospects you have, you eliminate the prospects' price and competition objection, you increase your sales. That's what it's all about. Okay, only a couple more things to talk about. One I'm going to mention real quickly, and that is, I'm promoting myself. I'm a mortgage broker, and I just do that as a way to earn some extra credits. Where you benefit from that, at every seminar and every meeting, I mention people what I do. I'm a mortgage broker. So if you want to buy a house, refinance a house, you come to me. Why? Because you can trade your closing cost. And that could be anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 or $4,000 in money that you don't have to finance. Isn't that neat that you know somebody that will trade your closing costs? And I got something else for you. Nobody can beat my rate. Go to your best friend, go to your brother, go to your mother, have her write you up something, and I'll beat her rate. Okay? And on top of that, I'll take the closing costs and credits. Now, here's one thing I'm going to send you away with. This will be money in the bank for you. Anytime you refer to me someone that's not a member and they end up paying me cash, I'll give you as much as 75 to 100% of that cash. Just for giving me their name, I'll sign them up in exchange for your credits. So let's say I sold a $300,000 house and my commission was $4,000. I can just give you a check for $3,000 in cash for 3,000 credits. Want to do that? Where are you going to get 3,000 credits? Where is she going to get 3,000 credits? Where's she going to get 3,000 credits? Debbie.
I'm sorry.
Where's she going to get 3,000 credits? Where's she going to get 3,000 credits? Tell them where she's going to get them.
I'll buy them.
You're going to buy them for $1,500. Now, who's ever given you $1,500 for a referred lead? All of our members can do that. The guy that's selling a car just did a deal where he wrote a check for $1,800 in cash to a guy, a chiropractor, that referred his dad over to buy a car from him. $1,800. And the chiropractor had no cash in his credits. So that's $1,800 just handed to you. Thank you very much. You know. So I'm a cash conversion. You find me clients. Okay. And Rib here is an example. Rib will cash convert. So if you know someone needs a wedding video, you know, he gets upwards of, say, $800 or $900 for a wedding video or something like that. Once you go over, he's a charming guy, knowledgeable. So he gets the sale, he gets $800 or $900, he turns around, he could give you as much as $400, $500, $600 of that in cash for your credits, because he can spend the credits. Isn't that neat? We work for him. Back when Ed was in the bowling alley business, I used to say, hey, I'm selling banquets to the bowling alley. I was always looking for groups of people that want to go to his bowling alley, you know. So we work for him. We work for the roofer. We work for the plumber. We work for everybody. We're all helping each other. We're looking to find things for each other. That's why we need to know what each other does. That's what that is. And finally, one of the last things on the list here is something I added just new here. Look at this. I had to reduce this down to size 8 print just to get them on one page. But this is a list of the web addresses of our clients, most of our clients. There's still some that we don't have their web address yet. But think about this. That's the very last one on the back of this thing. But actually, I email this out to people. And look, you know, you get this thing and it says concrete resurfacing. You click on that. It takes you right to their website. Advertising. Click on that. Bed and breakfast, restaurant, computers. You know, look at all this stuff that you can get, and you get a beautiful website on the internet to take a look at. Isn't that powerful? And so what I do is about every 2 weeks, I'll send this out to everybody in the trade exchange along with people that are prospects. Because you guys want to get me your email addresses. I've got yours, I've got yours, I've got yours, Ed. I don't have yours. You give it to me, but I've lost it someplace. I think I need yours, Paul, if I haven't been sending you anything. But give me your email addresses. Then start getting the email addresses of all the people you're trying to sell and keep in touch with. And then every time I give you something that you want them to know about, just forward it right along. So start building your databases. One of the reasons why I give you all this information is so it's all email. It's all been put on email. So you can just say, hey, Al, email me that thing with the websites. I'm going to forward it along. See how that is? So the other thing I'm going to show you is we got the brochure. And I'm going to give you the camera-ready copy. You can just take it to any place you want and make 100 copies for next to nothing. Just give them the camera-ready copy, pick out the paper you want, and that way you're in business overnight, and you can get all you want. Eventually, when we start getting orders, like we'll say, Walt, how many do you need a month? And we asked everybody how many they need. Then we'll order a printer and print enough to last us for 6 months or so, okay? But until then, you don't have to wait for us to order them or anything. So what do you think about those websites, folks? Okay. Well, actually, we're kind of coming to an end. We pretty much covered a heck of a lot of stuff here. We answered some questions. Just to go over things a little bit, you learned how to get customers. You learned how to save money. You learned how to make advertising work, how to cash convert credits. You got all this stuff. And now you'll be able to watch the tape. You'll be able to read the information. You'll be able to call Trader Al and say, hey, you know, I need a little more time with concept so-and-so until you really get to know it. Because you don't need all this information to sign up somebody on the trade exchange. You can just go to them with one great idea. Hey, you're spending $20,000 on advertising. I can save you $10,000. Got a minute? Woo.
No, I really don't.
You know the guy that has the hotel? If he's got over 50 full-time employees, I'm going to charge him 10 grand. So we could save him 10 grand in a matter